Have you ever felt like the clearer you see the world, the lonelier it becomes? It's almost ironic, isn't it? We grow up believing that self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and deep empathy will make life easier, help us connect, understand, and love better. Yet for many, the opposite happens. The more they see, the less they belong. They notice the little lies people tell to survive, the subtle manipulations in normal conversations, the masks everyone wears just to fit in. And suddenly, what used to feel like connection begins to feel like performance. It's not that these people are broken. No, they're simply gifted with emotional sensitivity, a kind of X-ray vision for human behavior. They can sense tension in a smile, hear exhaustion behind a "I'm fine," and feel the collective burnout humming beneath the noise of modern life. But here's the catch. Seeing too clearly can become its own kind of blindness. You start to overthink, to isolate, to mistake understanding for safety. You become emotionally exhausted from noticing what others ignore. But what if this curse is actually a hidden gift? What if loneliness, overanalyzing, and deep introspection are not signs of weakness, but of awakening? In this video, we'll explore the psychology of perception and emotional resilience behind those who see too much, feel too deeply, and think too long. Because maybe, just maybe, the pain of awareness is also the beginning of true inner peace. The hidden cost of seeing too much. They say knowledge is power, but sometimes it feels more like a burden. People who possess high sensitivity and deep emotional awareness often find themselves overwhelmed by the flood of details they perceive. They don't just see faces, they see micro-expressions, the flicker of discomfort in someone's eyes, the subtle shift of tone that others miss. It's a superpower that comes with a price: emotional exhaustion. Imagine walking into a room and feeling everyone's mood before a single word is spoken. It's not intuition, it's overload. Overthinking becomes a constant companion. Every conversation gets replayed like a movie in your head. Did I say too much? Did they mean what I think they meant? This endless loop of analysis often leads to isolation. It's not that these deep thinkers don't want company, it's that most company feels shallow. They crave authentic dialogue, conversations about meaning, consciousness, emotional depth, and the strange psychology of human behavior. Yet those topics make others uncomfortable, so they retreat into solitude, trying to find peace amid the noise of their own thoughts. But here's the paradox. That same sensitivity that isolates them can also be their guide toward emotional healing and personal growth. If they learn to channel their empathy instead of drowning in it, mindfulness becomes their anchor. One practical way to start is through emotional boundaries, not walls, but filters, like choosing when to listen deeply and when to simply observe. It's not coldness, it's self-preservation. And as they begin to master that art, something unexpected starts to unfold. Empathy is often seen as a virtue, and it is. But what most people don't realize is that too much empathy can quietly drain the soul. Sensitive people tend to absorb emotions like sponges. They don't just witness suffering, they feel it in their bones. A friend's heartbreak lingers in their chest. A stranger's frustration echoes in their mind. Over time, this constant emotional intake creates what psychologists call empathy fatigue, a silent burnout that can lead to detachment, anxiety, and even an existential crisis. Many gifted adults and emotionally aware individuals find themselves torn between caring deeply and preserving their own mental health. They can't just stop feeling, yet they also can't keep carrying the world's pain on their shoulders. This is where emotional intelligence meets self-compassion. Learning to recognize where your emotions end and another's begin is an act of maturity, not selfishness. Think of it like flying. You can't help others with their oxygen masks if you can't breathe yourself. A useful practice here is mindful empathy. Before absorbing someone's energy, pause. Ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Try journaling after intense conversations or taking a walk in silence to reset your emotional boundaries. Over time, you'll discover that empathy doesn't have to equal exhaustion. It can become clarity. And in that clarity, something starts to change. You begin to see not just others' pain, but your own reflection within it. The mirror of overthinking. There's a moment when introspection stops being self-discovery and turns into self-sabotage. Overthinking, often confused with intelligence, is the mind's attempt to control what it cannot. Sensitive people, those with high emotional awareness and deep empathy, tend to fall into this trap easily. They replay conversations, interpret silences, and analyze facial expressions until reality becomes distorted. What was once emotional clarity becomes emotional fog. They start to doubt themselves, thinking too much about what they feel instead of simply feeling. The irony is that overanalyzing often comes from good intentions, a desire to understand, to avoid hurting others, to maintain harmony. But the mind, in its search for meaning, can create suffering where there is none. Imagine a painter who refuses to step back from the canvas, too close to see the full picture. That's what overthinking does. The more one stares, the less one understands. The solution isn't to think less, but to see differently. Mindfulness, again, becomes a bridge to freedom, learning to observe thoughts without wrestling them. One practical way to escape this mental maze is through grounding rituals. For instance, when the mind spirals, step outside and focus on your senses, the sound of leaves, the feel of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. This interrupts the loop and restores emotional balance. Over time, these small moments of presence create emotional resilience. And when the noise finally quiets, something surprising happens. You begin to see not just the world's truth, but your own. And that realization opens a deeper door. The isolation of awareness. There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes with emotional clarity. When someone begins to see through illusions, social games, ego battles, emotional masks, they often find themselves standing alone. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. The conversations that once felt stimulating now feel scripted. The laughter that once felt shared now feels rehearsed. Sensitive and self-aware people frequently experience this disconnection, not because they don't care, but because they care too much, and the world rarely meets them at that depth. This isolation can become a quiet ache, a longing to be understood without needing to explain every thought. Many gifted adults describe this as the ache of being awake. They see the truth of things, how trauma shapes behavior, how fear hides behind anger, and they can't unsee it. Yet that vision can make ordinary interactions feel hollow. It's like being fluent in a language that no one else speaks. This loneliness isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. It pushes the person to question meaning, purpose, and connection on a deeper level. But here's the hidden blessing. Isolation creates the perfect environment for transformation. In solitude, emotional healing begins. The individual starts practicing shadow work, facing their own fears, old wounds, and forgotten dreams. They begin to realize that their loneliness isn't punishment, it's preparation. A necessary silence before the next evolution of their self-discovery. And as they start to embrace that solitude instead of fearing it, a subtle awakening begins to take shape, leading to something even deeper. Turning clarity into connection. Eventually, the person who once saw too much begins to understand that the goal was never to see less, but to see differently. Awareness, when softened by compassion, transforms from a weapon into a bridge. Emotional sensitivity stops being a source of pain and becomes a source of wisdom. The overthinker learns to pause before reacting. The empath learns to listen without absorbing. And the lonely soul learns that solitude was never isolation. It was training for emotional resilience. Seeing the truth is no longer a burden. It's a superpower guided by mindfulness and heart. Practical transformation begins when awareness meets action. Instead of retreating from others, the emotionally intelligent person starts practicing presence. They learn to connect through honesty rather than perfection. They ask real questions, share vulnerable stories, and allow silence to be part of the conversation. This shift turns relationships into sacred spaces for mutual growth and emotional healing. Books like The Untethered Soul or Emotional Agility can help bridge that inner journey, offering practical ways to turn introspection into liberation. And with time, the once misunderstood individual becomes a quiet teacher. Their life becomes living proof that deep empathy, emotional clarity, and self-awareness don't have to lead to burnout. They can lead to freedom. Seeing too clearly no longer isolates them, it connects them with everything. Because once you've made peace with your own shadows, you can see the light in everyone else's. And that's when clarity stops being lonely and starts being love. So now you know, the loneliness of seeing too clearly isn't a curse. It's a call to awaken, to grow, to turn your emotional depth into wisdom instead of weight. The truth is, the more you understand human behavior, the more compassion you must cultivate. Awareness without love becomes pain, but awareness with love becomes freedom. Ask yourself, have you been using your insight to connect or to protect? Have you mistaken your emotional clarity for isolation when it's really the start of transformation? Every time you overthink, every time you feel misunderstood, you're being invited to strengthen your emotional boundaries, to practice mindfulness, to reconnect with your inner peace. That's not punishment, it's purpose. So, if this message resonated with you, if you've ever felt like a deep thinker in a shallow world, you're not alone. You're part of a quiet revolution of emotionally intelligent souls, learning to see clearly and live gently. Don't keep this clarity to yourself. Share it. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep walking this path of emotional awareness, self-discovery, and healing with us. Because the world needs people like you, people who see the truth, feel deeply, and still choose love.